Hey there, thanks for joining us for this edition of ChamberSouth Spotlight. I'm your host, Tiffani Helberg, and I'm excited because Erik Perez is with us today, and he's with the Perez Mayoral law firm. Erik, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it.
So, Perez Mayoral, what type of law firm is that?
So our law firm is mostly dedicated to representing homeowners that are dealing with disputes with their community association. It could be a homeowners association, it could be a condo association, it could even be a co-op, and we represent homeowners throughout the entire state of Florida.
Why did you focus on just that area?
So what I found through my work experience, and to give you a little bit of context, I started off my career by doing the exact opposite, representing the associations and representing the insurance companies that defended and indemnified associations. And what I found is that there is a substantial imbalance of power that the homeowners are suffering because there's not a lot of law firms, there's not a lot of resources that are dedicated to just helping the homeowners in disputes with their association. So I found that within the market, there's certainly a need for that. Homeowners deserve just as much representation and just as much justice as associations do. And I thought that it would be a tremendous benefit to represent homeowners and level the playing field for them so that they can enforce their rights against an association.
Well, I think that's very smart, obviously, and there's a whole lot going on in that field right now. Tell us about some of the ways that the laws have changed recently.
So the laws change, it seems like almost every year. Oftentimes, the legislature will be approached by homeowners or homeowner advocates within both condo associations and HOAs. And as a result of that, oftentimes change the law. So, for instance, Chapter 718 over the last couple of years has changed substantially, primarily as a result, sadly, as a result of the Surfside tower collapse. And essentially, the legislature has been trying their hardest to put in protections for homeowners with regards to making sure the buildings within a condo association are safe. You can reside in the building architecturally, structurally, from an engineering standpoint, verifying that the building is safe. Now, one of the problems with that is that on the opposite end of that kind of swinging pendulum is pricing. And safety is just as important as a homeowner's finances. If you can't afford to live within the community, you're going to be foreclosed on and kicked out. So the legislature more recently in the last couple of years has been trying to manage that balance of safety, but also making community living affordable for homeowners. And most recently, HB 913 was passed within Chapter 718, and that has expanded in many different areas. First and foremost, it has extended many deadlines as it relates to financing the engineering projects that have to be completed and the inspections that have to be completed. Many of the deadlines have been extended. Also, HB 913 has given homeowner more rights and created more consequences for any associations that don't comply with the law. And as a matter of fact, for any property managers that don't comply with the law. So there's more transparency, there's more accountability within associations after HB 913. And I believe that as the years go by, there will probably be more changes, both within the condominium association context as well as within the HOA context.
What are some of the greatest challenges that you see homeowners facing with their associations?
So there are many different types of disputes that can arise between homeowners and their association. I think it's important to kind of take a step back and explain generally how the law works in this context. And basically, the way the law works is there's two levels of legal authority. The primary legal authority is the statutory authority. So that's going to be either the Homeowners Association Act or the Condominium Act, otherwise known as Chapter 718 and Chapter 720. In addition to that, every homeowner, and they may not know this, but every homeowner is in a contractual relationship with their association and vice versa. The association is in a contractual relationship with the homeowner. And the document that is that contractual relationship is the covenants, the governing documents. the declaration, the rules and regulations, the bylaws. Those are a binding contract between the homeowner and their association. So to answer your question, oftentimes the disputes that arise relate to an association or a homeowner not complying with either the statutory authority or the contractual authority, just to name a few of the more notable ones that arise and that we handle. So oftentimes, unfortunately, a building will fall into a state of disrepair. And the association will fall behind on maintaining the building. And, here in Florida, it rains almost every single day, particularly this time of year. So when an association is not maintaining the roof or the exterior wall, water is going to come into the property via water intrusion and damage a homeowner's property. A homeowner may say, well, this isn't my fault. I don't want to have to face increased insurance premium as a result of this. So they will contact the association and say, hey, can you please fix this for me? And most of the time, to be quite honest with you, the association will say, no, we won't fix that for you. Call your insurance company. That's what insurance is for. And that's where we will get the call from the homeowner. And ultimately what we do is we sue the associations for the property damage and try to get the homeowner as much money as possible so that they can make the repairs that they need to make as a result of this water intrusion. So I'd say a bulk of the cases that we handle relate to that. Also, sometimes an association will assess violations or fines improperly on a homeowner or not allow a homeowner to do something. And sometimes what they're not allowing the homeowner to do is not in any way supported by the statute or the governing documents. So they're essentially imposing rules without any legal basis to do so. And oftentimes we come in those situations and either take an offensive approach and sue the association for that, or if the homeowner is being sued for that, defend the homeowner and try to get them out of the situation as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then lastly, one of the most common ones we come across as well is assessment disputes. Sometimes it comes in the form of regular monthly maintenance that a homeowner can't afford. They get sued for that. They need to be defended in that context. Sometimes the association is taking the collections process beyond what the law allows you to do and becoming very aggressive. And we come in those situations and defend those homeowners. Sometimes it takes the form of a special assessment. An association is not passing in a way that complies with the law. And what we do is come in and defend the homeowner in those situations as well. So I would say those three are essentially the kind of main three disputes, but there are many others. Sometimes it's a neighbor dispute. You don't get along with your neighbor. Maybe they have a dog that you don't like or something to that extent that's being loud or they're making too many noises. And there's many other types of disputes that may come up within that context.
I'm sure you're very entertained as well. So if I'm a homeowner, what steps should I take? What are there things that I should do to help you when you come along?
Absolutely, absolutely. At the end of the day, your case as a homeowner or as any party in a litigation is only as strong as the evidence you have to support it. So if you are facing an issue with your association or with a neighbor, the most important thing you can do that you have control over is documenting what has occurred. You want to document it in a few different ways. If there's photos you can take that show what is occurring, let's say it relates to property damage, there's an active leak, you want to take a photo of that, you want to take a video of that. As well as you want to document it in writing. You want to memorialize it in an email. If you have a plumber come out to your property, or if you have an engineer or a contractor or a leak detection company, you want to have them prepare a report for you. You want to buy that report, you want to have it, and that is going to be part of the evidence that you have to support your claim. If the association is sending you correspondence and you believe that the correspondence may violate the law, you want to save that correspondence and send it to our office so we can evaluate that correspondence. So, in essence, prior to contacting our firm, one of the most important things you can do to prepare yourself for the legal process, if it goes that route, is you want to document everything as much as possible. You want to memorialize any records you have, you want to obtain them, and you want to take photos. And then once you've done that and contacted us, you're going to give us substantial information that could certainly help us better evaluate the claim and better pursue the claim.
That's great. And now, does your firm have educational materials as well to help homeowners?
Absolutely. We are essentially, as a law firm, on a mission to not only defend and protect homeowners' rights, but also to educate the homeowners. If you look at our website, you'll see that, number one, we have several videos where we provide general information to homeowners as to the law and how it works in many different areas that involve homeowner disputes. So I would say the videos on our website and the blog posts on our website are a very good starting point for gathering information to educate yourself as a homeowner. Secondarily, we also host seminars and webinars essentially on a monthly basis, and we record them as well. We put them on our YouTube channel. So on a monthly basis, if you're a homeowner and you sign up for our newsletter and you see an upcoming webinar or seminar that's coming up and you find it to be something that's interesting or something you're going through with your association, you can certainly join our webinar. It's free and it's saved on YouTube. So if you can't join it at the date and time that we host it, you can also log on to our YouTube and view our webinars and seminars there. We also oftentimes attend summits and symposiums and seminars. We're actually hosting one in the city of Doral, along with the mayor of Doral, where we're going to be part of a group of kind of homeowners advocates that relay information to homeowners. There's going to be a Q&A portion to it as well. And there's many, many different ways as a homeowner you can get essentially free information. And if you have a very specific situation you're going through and you don't find that the free information specifically answers the question that you're looking for to have answered, you can contact our law firm and we'll provide you with a consultation as quickly as possible.
That's awesome. So what if I'm sure there are plenty of homeowners who've gone and spoken up and said, this is not right, whatever it is, this should not be, and then faced retaliation for speaking up. What do you do in those cases?
So unfortunately, that is a very common occurrence. You know, as soon as a homeowner, as soon as you start to state your complaints on the record via an email or at a board meeting, board members are not going to be very happy with that, generally speaking. Nobody likes to be complained about. Nobody likes to be told they're not doing a great job. Nobody likes to have problems pointed out that exist in the community as a result of their action or inaction. So oftentimes, rather than fixing the issue, unfortunately, what some board members do is retaliate against a homeowner. Maybe they'll send someone to their property to see if there's any sort of violation. Maybe there's something on the front lawn that shouldn't be there that they never asked permission to put on there, and they will send out violations and things of that nature. So to answer your question, what can you do to protect yourself in those situations? Well, the first line of defense is always to try to talk it out with the board. You know, at the end of the day, the association board is just a group of people that also own property there. You know, they may not necessarily be business experts. They may not necessarily be association experts. They may not have a background in association law. They may not have a background in accounting. And so, you have to, as a homeowner, you have to take that into consideration and understand that the person on the other side of the table is also a human being just like you. So the first line of defense is always just to reach out and say, hey, look, I don't want to cause any problems. This is just something I want to resolve. I understand that now you want to potentially put some pressure on me, and I understand that, but let's talk it through. And if you can set up a meeting with the association to talk it through and resolve things, that's great. In the real world, unfortunately, that's not really how it goes. So in the real world, most of the time what you would have to do is contact someone like myself who can speak on your behalf to the board members or to the association's attorneys and explain, hey, what you're doing is retaliation. Okay, this is not compliant with the law. You can explain all the reasons why it's not compliant with the law, and in many different ways through the law, kind of dissuade them from retaliating against you and inform them of the legal consequences in retaliating against a homeowner who's speaking up and asserting that homeowner's rights.
Erik, this sounds all complicated. Should people avoid buying properties with an HOA?
And it's a great question. It's a great point. Many of my clients and many general people in the community kind of bring up when they're looking to buy a property. Should I buy a property in a community association? So the practical answer to that, particularly in Florida and in South Florida, sometimes you don't really have a choice. Most, or not most, but I'd say many properties in South Florida are part of an association. And, there are many pros to that. There's many positives that come from that. There are also many negatives that come from that. The answer really depends on the person, okay? There's some people that, as a result of just what they value and their personality and their character traits, absolutely should not be living in an association. There's some people that will never run into any problems with their association and will be very happy and enjoy the amenities of an association, will enjoy the governance of an association. For example, many people who don't live in an association, I often hear the complaint, hey, my house is pristine, it's well kept, the exterior is painted, my landscape is impeccable. My next door neighbor has a purple house with a broken down car on the front lawn. Well, right. in an HOA, you're not going to face that issue. Right. So, there are certainly positives to living in an association. Also, generally speaking, it can be more affordable. It can certainly be more affordable to live in an association. So there's certainly positives. And then the negatives are that you have to deal with an extra layer of governance that you otherwise would not have to deal with. And in an ideal world, the board of directors are educated, association council is competent, and they are applying the law in a uniform and appropriate way. But, the world we live in is not perfect. And so sometimes issues arise. I would tell someone who's looking for a property, if you have some concerns about the association, there is a due diligence period that's built essentially into every purchase contract. Take that time to go to the property, investigate the property. There's nothing stopping you from knocking on doors of neighbors and asking them, how is it like living in this community? Is it comfortable? Is the board a little bit intrusive? Are they friendly? Am I going to have any problems? What do the assessments look like? There's nothing stopping you from investigating and learning more about the community. And if you're satisfied with the responses, then you probably won't have a problem. You probably won't have a problem in the community. But it is important, particularly when buying in a community association, to do a little bit of extra homework as it relates to those sort of things.
So when you're doing your homework, do you think it's important to have a legal team like yours review the records of the association prior to buying?
I would say that if you have a particular concern and upon your review of the documents, you're unsure as to what may or may not happen, I would say a consultation with our firm could certainly be very helpful. There have been many consultations I've done, and at this point probably done thousands of them. But there's been many consultations I've done with a potential homeowner who's going to buy in an association, and they provide me with a declaration, we'll review it, and after the consultation, they'll thank me and say, hey, I didn't know that all these things were a possibility. I'm going to evaluate them, and I may, regardless, buy the unit or not buy the unit. Mm-hmm. But they really do appreciate the insight and the practical knowledge. We can give a lot of practical knowledge because we live through these disputes every single day. We have 10 attorneys now. We handle hundreds and hundreds of cases on a monthly basis and thousands on a yearly basis. And we have handled I would say every dispute you can possibly come across within the association context. And so we can provide real world insight to the homeowner as to what can possibly happen within the HOA or COA context as it relates to your factual scenario.
Is there a case that stands out in your head as one of the most rewarding?
There is. There's a client of ours who's a great client, very nice gentleman, and for whatever reason, the association appears just to have it out for him. Unfortunately, he's a very nice guy, but the board of directors and members of the board and himself are like oil and vinegar, just not getting along at all. And essentially, there was a major water-related event that damaged a substantial portion of the floor he's on. And to put it bluntly, they were trying to blame him and sue him and take as much money from him as possible. And thankfully, he contacted us. And as a result of contacting us in a timely way, we were able to jump in the case, okay? We were able to make our own claims. So we filed what's called a counterclaim. We sued back the association for suing him. And as a result of that, we were able to obtain the money that he was owed for the damage to his unit. And not only that, we went to a jury trial. The association, despite having paid him for his damages, said, we're still going to go forward with our case. We want to get paid for our damages. We went to a jury trial, and ultimately a verdict was entered in favor of our client. Our client was not liable in any way. So that's one of the cases I'm most proud of, a situation that was very, very bad from the onset. This was a retired individual living on a fixed income, facing this situation that he would have never expected. He's just trying to enjoy the later years of life, and now he's in a full-blown litigation with his association that he was not expecting, forced to defend himself, forced to repair his home that was damaged, and we came in, got him the money he needed, got him out of the case, and thankfully we were able to resolve it for him. So that's one of the ones that I would say I'm most proud of.
That's pretty awesome. So I hear some chatter about, maybe Florida should get rid of HOAs. Do you think there'll ever come a day that will happen?
To be honest with you, I don't think so. I really don't think it's possible to do that. Many homeowners and many of our clients often approach us with that. Is there a way just to completely get rid of this association? What can I do? Who can I talk to? And what I tell them essentially is that there is, legally speaking, a protocol for it. And the term of art is called a termination of an association. There is a protocol for that in the statute, okay? Now, it requires certain approval levels of the membership. It's not an easy thing to do, but it certainly is a thing that is possible. But the question you have to ask yourself is, okay, if you do succeed in that process, who's going to maintain the roof? Who's going to maintain the exterior walls? Who's going to maintain the landscaping? Who's going to hire a security guard? Who's going to hire a property manager? What if a homeowner doesn't want to pay for that? How are you going to enforce that? What if a homeowner is causing disruption within the community? How are you going to stop that disruption from occurring? So there's many problems that an association resolves within a community. There's also many problems they cause. But I would say that from a practical standpoint, is it possible to successfully terminate an association? I would say maybe within smaller communities, if you're talking maybe 10, 15 units or so, I would say that's possible. I would say it's not only possible, I'd say it's plausible. But within a larger community with 100, 200 units, I would say it's very unlikely, if not almost impossible, just because there's going to be so many issues that are going to come up, and who's going to take charge and handle them. That's essentially what the board does.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's a difficult problem to solve, and I believe the solution is more education for the homeowners. The more they know, the more they can assert their rights. Hopefully, the less conflict there will be between the two sides.
Erik, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want the community and potential homeowners to know?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that as a homeowner, you need to know you do have rights. You have rights. If you are being trampled by your association and you feel what they are doing to you is completely unfair, you have rights you can assert as it relates to that association. You have the right to request association records. You have the right to attend meetings. You have the right to vote as a homeowner. And if an association is not complying with their statutory or contractual obligations, you have the right to sue them for that. And so many homeowners will simply face these issues and say, I am powerless. There's nothing I can do. This is a company. An association is a company, a corporation in the state of Florida. This is a corporation that is attacking me, and I'm just going to give them whatever they want. You absolutely don't have to do that, okay? At the very least, you should seek information to see what your rights are. You should contact our firm, have us give you a consultation, and we'll inform you as to what your rights are, what can be done. Sometimes your case may even be eligible to be taken on a contingency. So our law firm takes certain cases on a contingency basis. What that means is there is no upfront cost. You only pay us if you win your case, okay? And the cases we take on a contingency primarily are property damage cases. So cases wherein there was water intrusion, pipe leak, roof leak, any sort of leak caused by the association that caused damage to your property. You don't have to pay us a dime on those on the front end. Okay, you can sign up with us. We will sue the association. If we win, we collect a percentage of the earnings. If we don't, you don't have to pay us a dime. So I would say that if you're facing a property damage related dispute, give us a call. The consultation is free and the service is on a contingency basis. So it can be very helpful to the homeowners, particularly the ones that may not be able to afford an attorney at an hourly rate. Now, there's a lot of other cases that we don't offer contingency for because oftentimes the solution is not necessarily related to money. Sometimes the solution is related to withdrawing a fine, negotiating an assessment, removing something from the property, solving a dispute with a neighbor. So sometimes it is not a case that is driven by money or money damages. So in those situations, we take those cases on an hourly retainer. And generally speaking, the way that works is there is an upfront deposit depending on the case. It may vary. And then simply we bill hourly on these sort of cases. The good part or the silver lining about these association disputes is the statute does allow for recovery of attorney's fees in the event you are the prevailing party. So the case I was talking to you about earlier, wherein the homeowner was forced to not only defend himself but also sue back the association, and we ultimately won. The judge in that case entered an order entitling our client to reimbursement of attorney's fees. So there is a way, even if you're spending the money on the front end, to get it back from the association on the back end. So I think that's a very important thing for homeowners to know about. There are options, whether your case is related to property damage or any sort of association kind of general noncompliance. You can call us. We can help you. You may be eligible for contingency fee help, and there is a way to recover your attorney's fees on the back end. And in addition to that, I would say that stay apprised of the law. You know, it's changing constantly. There is a substantial amount of resources. If you can't find them, go on our website. We post, as the law changes, we immediately post what the changes are and how they may affect you. So as a homeowner, you know, stay involved in the changes in the legislation, stay involved in your community. And if you need support, contact our firm. We're here to help you.
Some great information. I'm so enthusiastic about our session here today. Thank you. So you're with the Perez Mayoral Law Firm. Erik Perez, thank you for joining us. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I very much appreciate it.
And thank you all for watching this edition of ChamberSouth Spotlight. I hope that you're going to join us at one of our many events that are coming up. We're great at networking and connecting business leaders, just like Erik, as you just met.